Hey guys. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about Islam. All right, to start off, let's see. The religion is called Islam, and the people who practice Islam are called Muslims. So it's not a religion called Muslims. Those are the people who follow Islam. There's like Christianity has Christians, and Judaism has Jews. A couple myths. The first myth is that most Muslims are Arabs who live in the Middle East. That is not true. Of more than the 1 billion Muslims worldwide, only about a fifth of them are Arabs. We'll talk more about what Arabs are, the difference between that and Middle Eastern, and what it means to be Muslim as we move on here. So try to guess, which country has more Muslims than any other country in the world? Well, it'd be Indonesia. It has over 200 million Muslims. And the United States only has about 5 million. Okay, population-wise, that's just sheer numbers, not percentage. So Indonesia has the most individuals who practice Islam, and the United States only has about 5 million. And here's a map of the Eastern Hemisphere and kind of the Muslim by percentage. So again, the lighter the color, the higher percentage of the people who live there are Muslims. There's the most people are Muslims, it's just the higher percentage. Myth 2, Muslims have a strange religion and worship a god called Allah. Muslims are monotheistic and worship the same one God as Christians and Jews. So monotheistic means there's worship one God, and it's the same God actually that the Christians and Jews worship as well. So you're probably going to ask them, what's the big deal? Well, we'll talk more about it later. Allah is the Arabic word for God. So Allah is the same thing as saying God. It's just a different language. Myth 3, Muslims believe it is okay to kill civilians in a holy war or a jihad. Well, right, it's never okay to kill civilians. Only extremists believe this, just like most Christians don't believe bombing abortion clinics. So you usually don't want to just kill civilians or innocent people. Most people think that's a bad thing. Myth 4, most Muslims wear veils over their faces and are treated very badly. Muslim women, that is. No, not all Muslim women wear veils. A lot of them do cover their heads, unless similar practice in a lot of different religions. Same thing in Judaism. They cover their heads as well as a sign of respect to God. Women do it for a couple different reasons, and they have different styles. Again, it's kind of a respect thing, not only to God, but also to their future husbands. And not all of them wear the same kind of thing. And very few cultures require them to cover their faces. The treatment of women varies from country to country and family to family. So again, it just depends on where you live and kind of what your culture is. Some people say, well, women aren't treated as equally in Muslim countries. Well, then some people would also argue that places like Pakistan have had a female prime minister, where the United States has never had a female president. So if you want to say, well, women don't have many opportunities, well, in some Muslim countries, that's not true. Here's a few examples of how Muslim women dress in different countries. So this is the one on the left is Pakistan. The one on the right is from Saudi Arabia. Here's an Iranian woman. Somalia, West Africa, both African countries. Malaysian and Indian, Bangladesh. Some Afghan women wearing burqas. Some Muslim women protesting in Texas over whether they should be allowed to wear headscarves or hijabs. Something to think about. Should women in the Western country be allowed to wear a headscarf they choose? Well, of course, they should be able to maybe wear a headscarf, but does it single them out, or does it maybe bring unwanted attention to them? So the 5 main beliefs of Islam, so the 5 pillars of Islam. First is faith. So every Muslim must profess that they have the belief in just one God, and that God's prophet is Muhammad. They must pray 5 times a day. Let's see, morning, noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening. And they should usually face Mecca, which for here in the United States would be east. Alms means giving charity, being charitable. Means you're required to be charitable if you can afford it. It's not an option. It's like, well, maybe kind of like, Christianity is kind of like you should always help out the poor, or maybe give to the charity or give to the church. Or in Islam, you're required. Fasting. Every Muslim is required to fast during the month of Ramadan, in which case the fasting takes place during daylight hours. So when the sun is up, you stop eating and drinking until the sun goes down. Usually this is in kind of the fall or winter months. And again, it's not always the same because Muslims follow a lunar calendar, so it's a little different than our calendar. So it's never the same day every year. And then pilgrimage. At least once in their lives, each Muslim should, if they can afford it, travel to Mecca and visit the Kaaba. And speaking of Mecca, here's the Mecca during the pilgrimage, and right, that black box in the middle is called the Kaaba. Only Muslims are allowed in Mecca, but we can check out Google Earth and go check it out too. Saudi Arabia has built outside of Medina this giant tent city for pilgrims who come once a year. They can house over 3 million people in these tents that are air conditioned and have plumbing. I bring this up for a couple of reasons. One is right now it's currently empty. So with the crisis in the Middle East, looks to me like it'd be a good place to house refugees as they are fleeing Syria. However, it is still currently empty and is not being used to help the refugees fleeing the conflict in Syria and Iraq. So a little vocabulary. A mosque is a Muslim place of worship, just like a cathedral is a Catholic church. Okay, or a synagogue is a Jewish temple. Okay, mosque is a place of worship. Here's a few examples of the Mosque of Medina in Saudi Arabia. Again, you're going to see a lot of geometric patterns, floral things. You'll never see pictures of people or sculptures or images because that's blasphemous. Only God creates people, and so to try to mimic God is blasphemous. So you see a lot of intricate geometric and floral designs in Muslim architecture. That's the Blue Mosque there in Istanbul. It's pretty famous. It's the inside. Domes. This one's in Africa. Go through, give you an example of Mexico. Not all mosques are the same, but you can kind of characterize again by the lack of statues or animals. Like you'd see on a lot of Christian cathedrals, you'll see like gargoyles or priests or saints or the statues, but here you'll see a lot of domes, and like I said, in other patterns. More vocabulary. The Quran is called the Muslim holy book, just like the Bible is read by the Christians and the Torah by the Jews. The Quran is more of like a poem, and it's meant to be spoken, not so much as a story to be read, but just kind of as a story, as a poem to be spoken. And then Arabic, it's written backwards, so you read the book from right to left instead of left to right. You'll see a lot of Muslim influences on secular arts. So again, you see, writing, calligraphy, hieroglyphics, and like I said, geometric designs. So again, Islam is an important religion which shares many beliefs and practices with Christianity and Judaism. Muslims live in many different countries. Islam is especially widespread in Africa and Asia and Southeastern Europe. It's also had huge impacts on the world of art and culture. The video can review. I'll send you a link to this. Maybe watch a little bit. Sharia law is actually the kind of the law that governs Islam. Islam is more than just religion. It's actually a way of life. It's kind of different than what we do here in the West with Christianity. I'm not saying everybody's Christian, but a lot of what we do has kind of Christian ideas. And Muslims believe that Islam is more than just a religion. It's how you should govern every aspect of your life. And so that version of the law system is called Sharia. It's a legal system, and it's basically how the Prophet Muhammad lived his life and how he says Muslims should behave as well. So it's good for every aspect of your life. So whether or not you think you should go to a bar after work, or if you maybe should get into a business contract, or who you should marry, or how you should discipline your kids, or everything else, there's it's set out and defined. There's two different general categories of the Had offenses, which are serious crimes with set penalties, and the Tazir crimes, which are kind of left up to the discretion of the judge. And some of the Had offenses, like I said, if you are caught stealing, you lose a hand. If adulterer, you're supposed to be stoned to death. Apostasy is a big deal right now with ISIS in the Middle East, and apostasy basically means leaving the faith. It's kind of controversial as to whether or not you should be punished by death if you leave the faith. Again, it kind of depends on your version of Islam and what you choose and believe. Some believe it's a peaceful religion and you can come and go as you want, and God will decide in the end. Whereas some believe no. Once you're a Muslim, always a Muslim. If you claim to leave the following of Muhammad, or if you don't necessarily practice the way they believe, then that means they believe that you're no longer a Muslim. And if you're not a Muslim, then the penalty is death.